Hey, what is up, Rock Church family? My name is Akia, and I am joined with
Porsha.
and we just want to welcome you to the Rock Pod, another episode, a Rock Podcast, and this is the Youth Edition. And we're going to be talking today about things that we wish we knew as teens, because definitely I've learned a lot.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wish there were some things I wish that I had known. So we're just going to dive right into it and get going. So, Portia, what are some things that you wish, like you look back and you're like, man, what's some things, or maybe, how about this? What are some things that you like struggled with?
Okay.
You were like, this was
So I had a lot of struggles as a teenager. So it's hard
Same.
to like,
a
it's
laundry
hard.
list of them.
Yeah, it's
Same.
really hard
Yeah.
to pick which one. But I definitely think that one of the struggles that was my biggest was the shame that I carried as a teenager.
Oh.
So just because I didn't grow up in a perfect household, you know?
Yeah.
And because of that, I had my little phases of, I wanted to be rebellious and I wanted to do my own thing.
Like acting out.
Yeah, and so I acted out. And through that, after that, I felt a lot of shame because I knew who God was and I knew that what kind of God he was, and I thought that it made me unworthy. I really thought that it made me unworthy, and so I carried that weight all throughout high school, and it wasn't pretty, and I really thought that he wouldn't be able to forgive me. I thought I was unforgivable, and that's something that is, I could like say for sure that's something I wish I knew, that he was and he is a loving and forgiving and gracious God, because that I feel like right now a lot of teenagers, they think that their wrongdoings and the stuff that they go through, it makes them unworthy of the love of God.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't.
And it ends up like a cycle because it's like you feel shame. So then you don't, like, you want to distance yourself from God.
Yeah.
But then you also are like, well, I'm already this far, so I might as well continue in whatever sin, right? Or struggle. So I feel like I get that. I think, like you said, I had a lot of struggles. I think I feel like insecurity was one, for sure. I think there was so much pressure around what a teenage girl looked like and acted like and what was cool and not cool. And like, I feel like now the trends have changed. Like, the trends always change.
For sure.
So, I think I grew up in like an area where people didn't look like me. They look very different, and thank God we had the church, and the Rock looks like so, like, we, they always say we look like heaven. Like, there's so many different like types of people and nationalities and all those things, but I think growing up in school, like, that's not what it looked like for me. And so I think I remember, like, I had struggles specifically, like, man, I wish my hair was just like, all the other girls. I was in cheer, which is a sport, everybody. Okay. I was in cheer, and like, you always have to like, do like bows and all the things. And like, I remember thinking like, man, like, I wish, I had hair like this or looked like this just to like blend in with everybody. And now I'm like, how foolish. Like, how, like, there's so much beauty to like all of the different, like cultures and things like that. And I feel like the enemy really used that insecurity so that I would distance myself from people, and like it kind of like isolates you in your brain, And so I was always like an overthinker. Shout outs to you if you struggle with that. I was always an overthinker because of that. And so like there's just so many things that stem from it. And then I think too, I mean, I don't know, you were going to church, right, when you were a teen?
Yeah, well, kind of. I was
here and
like
there.
in and out most of the time.
A little up, a little down. Okay, I grew up going to church, so I think too, like, that insecurity also made me feel like I didn't fit anywhere. So like, I was going to church, like, obviously like you love church and you love the house of God, but then you go to school and like, especially like if you're like on a sports team or like something that you're like, you have a team of people around you, I feel like the peer pressure kind of intensifies. Like you want to do the things that they're doing, or just to like feel like you fit somewhere. Did you ever feel like that?
I did. I think when I was like in volleyball and I played my sports, I would always, I tried really, really hard to get along with everybody.
Yeah.
Especially because in high school, a lot of people didn't like me. And I had haters, okay?
Haters.
And so a lot of people talked about me. And with that, I felt like a lot of time my teammates were part of those people. And so I was always finding myself in a place where I was just trying to please them. But in me trying to please them, it also is what pushed me. It's what made me in and out of church. Is me trying to please my friends at school because they didn't go to church. Like, they wanted to go out, they wanted to drink, they wanted to smoke, like they wanted to do all that stuff. And I think even one time I was really, really in church and I was dedicated to it. And I don't know where a flip switched, but I realize now is because I wanted to fit in with them. And one time I denied. Someone had offered to pay for me to go to youth camp, and I said no. I said no because I wanted to fit in with my friends, and because that weekend they were like having like a party or whatever, and I wanted to go, and I was pleasing them instead of pleasing God.
Yeah.
And I realize now, like, I probably shouldn't have done that, but there was a good result in that because my sister went instead of me, and then then my sister's like good now and all that stuff, but. Don't
block your blessing, people.
Yes, yeah,
because that's huge. Wow.
Yeah. So, but that's like that was me. Like I started to just reject him and starting to want to please everybody else and be like how they were and not even be myself.
Yeah.
I didn't know who I was. I didn't know the kind of person I wanted to be. All I knew was that I was in school. I played sports. I wanted all the boys to like me, and I needed all the girls to like get along with me. Yeah. And so I was a tryhard. I would literally like suck up, and it wasn't pleasing to me. It wasn't until COVID where I had to separate. COVID is what saved me. Yeah. That's how COVID saved me.
It's people pleasing, man. It's the attack. It's literally like, I feel like I was thinking about it. I was like, man, people pleasing is like you're a hamster on a wheel. Like you never really get anywhere. But you're trying so hard, and I feel like I so identify with that too because I think I was never really like the problem child per se, right? Like I feel like I wanted to do all the things and like I didn't want to give my mom. I grew up in like a single parent household, so like I didn't want to give my mom any issues. Like I just wanted to be on the straight and narrow. But it teaches you like people pleasing and striving, and like you take that into like every area of your life. Like it translates into your relationship with God. It translates like where you feel like you're striving, but it's really like you never get anywhere. So I that was definitely a trap that I feel like and honestly it takes for as long as think about how long you were in that mindset. Like it takes you a long time to undo those thought patterns, and God can break, like the Bible says, like he can break any yoke, right? It's the anointing that breaks the yoke of bondage. But it still takes time to like change your thought habits to not feel like, okay, I have to say yes to everything because I'm striving, or okay, I have to do this and this, or God won't love me, or like those are just traps that we fall into. I think just in immaturity, but the Bible says like we can come to it says he died for us while we were in sin. Like it was not your earning that did it. It was not your so
it's like I know that when it came to the pleasing part, when I was dedicated to God, I felt like like, because you said, I have to do everything perfect for him to love me. Yeah. And so I felt like I had to be perfect for him to love me. And so it kind of goes back to what I had said earlier, the shame. And so I think that's why I had dug myself so deep into a hole, because I thought that I wasn't perfect enough for him. And that's one thing that it runs through anyone's mind, not just like teenagers, but anyone's. Like you had the feeling and the need to be perfect for God, but in reality, we are imperfect people, and he, like I said before, he is that forgiving God. And it's as long as we're going to him with that repentant heart. I didn't know what a repentant heart was. I didn't know that you could do that. I didn't know that you could sit there and just say, God, will you forgive me for this? I didn't know I could do that. I didn't have the people in my life to tell me that I could do that. And because of that, I wasn't that whole for a really long time.
So when did it, I know kind of in our conversation before, like we talked about, like when did it click? Like, what was a moment? So you kind of mentioned COVID, where you were like, because it really does feel like, I mean, I don't know about for you guys, but for me, it felt like I was like at war with myself, like internally. Like you are, you want to like love the Lord and please God, but there's like all of these, internal battles and just the pressure of like, I literally feel like high school is a pressure cooker.
Really,
like you're literally like just, it's like intensified. And then the second you step out of it, you're like, oh my gosh, that was not that deep. Like it was not like, like those people I was trying to please are not going to be around. Those, the people that I was trying to get their attention, or all of these things that I was doing to, I don't know, make yourself feel whole. Like those things kind of like disappear literally, I think, with just an atmosphere change. Like you are not in high school anymore. So some of there's hope for you if you're feeling like, my God, it is not forever. It will not go on forever. You will graduate, you will go to whatever, college or whatever, enter the workplace, and it will literally like shift for you. That's not to say you won't have trials outside, obviously.
No, but most of the time, all those people that you're worrying about in high school, you won't even be talking to them anymore after high school. I don't talk to no one from high school.
On Instagram. It's over. It's done.
For real.
Yeah.
They're not, honestly, they're not going to be relevant in your life anymore because you're going to be worrying about yourself and worrying about, building your life.
Yeah. But obviously, like the habit of your brain going to like, what does this person think about me, or caring about those things, like those are patterns that we have to unlearn, right, and turn to the Lord. So when you feel like it clicked for you, like you felt the war is over.
So I think definitely for me, it was easier since when we went into COVID because I was able to separate from high school. Okay, and it was easier because I moved to a different city. And so I was going from Loma Linda to Fontana. So already the COVID, I was already separated, and then COVID like really separated me. And so that isolation and being away, I started to see, I was always asking myself, why was I like that? Why was I like that? And I realized that my people pleasing, my wanting to be accepted by everyone, it came from, me always wanting to be accepted by my dad. And like growing up, I was often told, I was blamed for everything growing up. And, I love my dad. My dad's great. These are all past things. Okay. But growing up, it was always, this is your fault, Porsha. I was unhappy because of you. This is all you. And that put me in a mindset of where I need to be the perfect child to my parents, but I also need to be accepted by everybody else. And when I got isolated from everybody, I started to feel less of that need to be accepted by them. And then I think one time the church opened up, and I still don't want to go to church. I was done. I was like, I'm done with it. God's not going to forgive me, all that stuff. And I think one day I was with my cousin, and she was like, we're going to church today. I was like, I don't want to go to church. But I had to because I was spending the night with her. And so I was like, okay, fine.
Sleepovers, that's how they get you.
For real.
For the best, amen.
For the best. And I went that one Wednesday night, and I started going ever since then. But the reason I stayed was because I had made friends. I had a community. And that's why, community is so important, because without that community, without the people like that give you that reason, like I want to go see my friends, I want to go do this, you have that less of a want to be here. But when you have that, then you have the want to be here, and then it just helps you build closer and closer, especially when they're godly friends. It's like, I think the level of community is underestimated, how important community is, especially as a teenager, how important it is to have those friends in church. Because being in youth ministry, we see these teenagers come in and come out, and the ones that don't have friends, like I see them. I see them, and I see them with their head down. I see them walk in and out, and then you could see like they're just here because they're forced to be here, compared to the ones that come in and they look for their friends and they find their friends, and then they sit in service with their friends, and then they have a good time. Yeah. They look forward to coming to church. You know, it gives them something to look forward to. So for me, like, my community was it made a big impact because it was a friend group. Friend groups are the best, you know.
Yeah,
but
listen, I mean, we talked about, you know, like, high school is like a pressure cooker. That's because of the atmosphere, but in the same way, like, the Church of God can do that for you as well. Like, it's your setting. It's the choosing to be in community with people that are going to bring you closer to the Lord, that are going to lift you up, that are going to pray for you. Like, it's just all of those things. So shout outs to COVID, because it thought it would take us out, but it didn't.
Nope,
it made us stronger.
It brought some of us closer to
God. And closer together. There's something about someone telling me not to do something that I'm just kidding. They said, don't gather. We said, period. Let's gather. No, I'm just kidding. I think for me, I feel like the war felt like it ended for me, like, with struggle at my first youth camp as an intern, actually. So, I mean, I had gone to, like, youth camps before, and, like, the Lord had always, like, shown up in significant ways. But one of the things that we talk about after camp every time, right, is like, okay, you're going to go back to school. You're going to go back to your regular life. And, like, how does this translate? Like, God has just totally done something new in your life. And how do you carry that down the mountain? And I think I always struggled with that. Not necessarily, like, the walking with God, but the taking, like, the passion and the fire that I felt, and, like, leaning into that, like, in the everyday. Like, I was always still going to church. I was always, you know, I wasn't ever going to do anything crazy per se. Like, I wasn't, like, trying to do drugs or anything like that. But how do I use that fire and that time that God, like, set me apart, when I feel like I have to keep striving, when I feel like I have to keep performing, like, in the everyday, you know? And so my first camp as an intern, I was leading the worship team for, like, that was my first year, like, being the worship leader. And I remember feeling like, okay, God's given me something to say, like, during worship. And if I don't say it, I feel like I'm going to explode. Like, that's literally how I felt. Like, I felt like I was going to implode. I don't think I would have. But that's how it felt. And I remember, like, opening my mouth and being like, okay, I'm going to say it. Like, I'm going to say whatever the Lord had told me to say. And seeing people's, like, countenance, like, shift. Like, the room shifted. And I didn't feel like it was, like, you're not thinking of yourself like, oh, look what I just did. Like, that's not how it felt. It felt like, oh my gosh, like, I took a step out and God met me, and now he's, like, changing people's hearts and lives because of my, you know, small obedience or whatever. And I remember I got off stage, and, you know, if you've been to camp, like, you do worship and it's like 1,000,000 hours. I'm just kidding. It felt like such a cool time with the Lord. And then, you know, the youth pastor was getting ready to go and preach, and I got off stage, and one of my friends was like, oh my gosh, like, that didn't even look like you. Like, that, like, she said you were on fire, but she was like, it literally did not look like you. Like, it was like the Lord, which is crazy. And I remember after that feeling like, okay, this is what it's all for. Like, it's not about, like, life is so much bigger than the internal war that, like, do people like me? Like, life is so much bigger than, like, there are things that God has for us to do on this earth, and the enemy would love to distract you with what's going on in your brain, and, like, it's all you, like, it's pride, right? And I remember getting off stage and feeling like this is, like, what it's about. Like, this is what I'm meant to do with my whole life. It's not about whether I can please enough people. It's not about, at that time I was a freshman in college. Like, I had a totally different major. I was a psychology major for, like, a year. So if you need a therapist, don't call me. But I literally was like, this is literally what I'm meant to do with my whole life. And the thing is, I know that, like, I'm called to, like, ministry, like, vocationally, right? Like, this is what the Lord has laid out for me, like, for work. But the thing is, like, that I don't think that's not just for me. That's for literally every believer. Like, that God would so set you on fire that you would leave behind all of the cares of this world and the weights and the distractions. Because all of these, like, struggles that we face, I mean, God uses them to refine us and to bring us closer to him. But, like, they're distractions, bro. Like, they're just hindering you from doing what God has actually called you to do. And I just remember feeling like that was a shifting point for me. Like, okay, this is actually not about striving. This is actually not about having it all together. This is not about, you know, feeling insecure or in who I am or any of that stuff. This is about, there's a living God, and he has a desire for people to go to heaven. And this is what your aim has to be for your whole life. Don't be weighed down by the distractions of this world. There's no, those things don't matter. They fade away. There's an eternity where people are literally going to either stand before God and make it into heaven, or they're going to stand before God and answer for what they did and go to hell. And how are you going to play a part in that? And so I feel like for me, the turning point was really like a shifting of like thinking about myself. Like, sometimes we just got to get off of ourselves and start thinking about what God has asked us to do.
Yeah, you said a word and it really like caught me. You said you were like performing, you know. It was a performance, and I feel like right now that's something that happens a lot, is we often find ourselves performing. And especially teenagers, because we want to hide everything that we're doing. And I know even for myself, I catch myself, I do something, I don't want to say anything. I'm just like, I'm just zip it, not say nothing, act like nothing's happening, and continue with, you know, keeping that happy face on and putting on that performance. It really is like we learn how to put it on for other people, but then we don't help ourselves internally,
and we don't know how to take it off.
We don't.
Like, that doesn't work with like, it works for other people, but the Lord literally sees you
exactly
in your lowest moment, like when no one is, when you're alone in your room. Like, God sees you. You can't perform there.
And the thing is, like you said, it's a pride thing. It's a pride thing, and being able to say it and to tell somebody, it shows humility. Being able to tell someone, hey, I did something and I messed up, you know, that shows humility, because that, like I said, the vulnerability, it really, because there's so many times where I thought I was in the wrong, and my leaders had to tell me, hey, be humble and say something. The Bible literally says to confess. It literally says to confess.
Preach it, sister.
And that is part of showing humility.
Yeah.
You know, we grow so much pride as a young age, and we don't even realize it. We don't realize that it's pride. So that's just like, you know, a little note for you guys, is just allow yourself to be vulnerable. Yeah. Open up, and don't let shame bring you down, because that shame is part of this part. It comes from the pride. Yeah. Be humble. Be humble. Be humble.
Would you say, okay, so would you say that's something, like, obviously we are not in high school anymore. Thank you, Jesus. It does not go on forever. But would you say that that's something that you've learned, like, your relationship with the Lord has changed over time? Because, I mean, in the natural, we grow on our own. Like, it just is inevitable. I was like, well, I didn't grow very much, but realistically, like, the natural, like, your body's growing, like, you're aging, like, those things kind of happen on their own. But with your walk with the Lord, like, you have to put in, you know, work towards your growth and work towards your development. So how do you feel like your relationship with God has changed, like, over time?
I think it has become more of I'm able to actually be open with God, and I'm able to just put full trust in him. Because before, I was so stubborn, and I just wanted everything my way, and I had to learn to just sit down and listen. The amount and it came through, you know, leadership, and, you know, through internship. I know that for a fact, and I'm okay with this being said. Like, I'm okay with Pastor Donnie telling people, but I say it too. I got pulled into the office almost every, you know, Kia, you were there.
I was there.
You were there. It was getting often. Pulled into the office like almost every single week. But that helped grow and develop me. Yeah. But it didn't help develop me until I learned to just listen. Yeah. Until I learned to just take it in and say, okay, and say, let me work on it.
And I will say that was, like, I mean, I've had to correct, we've had to correct other people, but you were always receptive of it. Like, even if it took you a while to like walk it out, right? And like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore because it's a habit. You have to like unlearn habits, right? But you were always receptive to it. And I feel like that's something, I know we were talking earlier and we are like, one of the things we wish we knew is that we don't know everything. We right? don't. Like teenagers, listen, I know you feel like, and even now I have to tell myself like, you don't know, you don't know anything.
I know.
Like,
so the amount of times I wish I would have listened to my parents as a teenager, like,
it's okay.
I wouldn't. There were so many things I probably wouldn't have been through if I would have just listened to my mom and my dad, because they do know better. Yeah. Just remember that your parents were your age once.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hashtag listen to parents.
Hashtag listen to your parents.
Anyway, okay. So you were saying, but that translates into your walk with the Lord.
Yes.
So one of the things that you've learned. Right?
Yes.
That's how your relationship has grown, that you've learned to listen.
I've learned to listen, and me learning to listen to my leaders helped me to learn to listen to God.
Yeah.
Because once I learned to be quiet with them, I also learned to be quiet in my time with God.
Hey.
And now I don't even enter into prayer in silence. I just sit there, and because that's the way that I've learned to hear best. Because that's my way of, instead of just like doing all the talking and feeling like I need to pray and everything, that's me humbling myself down to God and just saying, okay, I'm here. Now, what do you want? What do you want to talk about? You know, unless I'm like journaling, but that's different. But
the Bible talks about that. Like, you don't need to yap. I mean, that's my translation. You don't need to yap. You really, it's not performative. It's not about all the words that you could say. It's not about all of those things. It's about being with the Lord. So that's all that matters. That is beautiful. I think for me, right alongside that, like, it's just not, you don't need to earn. You don't need to earn. You don't have to strive. It's not about how many things you can do for the Lord. Like, he literally loves you just being you. And I think I really, like, the Lord was obviously teaching me that, like, in all of my adult years, but I think when I had a baby, I was like, you're not going anywhere. Like, you're literally, it's you and that baby, sometimes all night. But it was such a beautiful season. I think of the Lord just reminding me, like, hey, this might be your inclination to like want to perform or do, but you don't have to. I love you just as I love you when you're not on any platform. I love you, and so I just think that's one of the things the Lord has really taught me, that it's actually relationship. That's what the new covenant is about. That's all it is. It's literally just relationship. The old covenant was rules, do, but you don't have to do that. Sometimes I think it takes me a little longer.
Remember, it says it's not by your work.
Yeah. By works. It's a gift of God. So, man, what a good conversation this has been.
Thank you guys for joining us today. Just remember, real quick recap. Okay, real quick recap is that you don't need to cover yourself in shame. Yeah. You do not need to cover yourself in shame, because remember that God, he is a loving and forgiving God. Yeah. And no matter how deep you are, no matter how deep you think you are or how unworthy you feel, just know that he says that you are worthy and that he loves you no matter what. And if he can save me and take me out of my hole that I was in, he can do the same to you. Yeah. And then remember, you don't have to please nobody. You don't have to please nobody. And when it comes to God, all he wants is your heart. He doesn't want you to perform for him. He doesn't want you to perform for everybody else. He just wants your heart. And it's like Akia said, it's a relationship. And we want to encourage you guys as you go throughout your days to trust God. Trust God and trust the people that he puts in your life too, because those are very important. Because I know for a fact I wouldn't be able to be the person I am today if it weren't for the people that God put in my life. Akia is one of them. And so trust the people that God put into your life. Thank you guys for joining the Rock Pod Youth Edition.
Be sure to like, subscribe, comment. If you have, ideas on topics you want to hear about, maybe you want us to dive more into, be sure to get all of those things to us. You can DM us on Instagram, you can email us, whatever you got to do. I don't know if teens email.
I don't think so.
whatever you got to do. But thanks so much for joining us, guys.
And join us next time.
Oh, yeah.